My name is Katie Carter, and I am the emergency response meteorologist for the National Weather Service and talking about statewide weather briefing. We've had a lot of new registrants lately, so if you are looking for the more specific, granular local forecast, you will still want to defer to your local National Weather Service forecast offices like the Wakefield office, Sterling, or Blacksburg. But this is giving us the more holistic statewide snapshot of what we can expect. Now, I can certainly do my best to answer questions, but I am, not totally familiar with, say, the topography in the Blacksburg National Weather Service office if we're talking about specific forecast details, but I can definitely do my best. So severe thunderstorm watch is in effect, really actually probably just expired at 11 a.m. unless they extended that. But we have tornado watches that were just extended for a good part of the state. And we are expecting possibly a little bit of light snow. Yes, we are still talking about that. So the severe thunderstorm watch just expired for areas west. And there's a possibility that we could be seeing this extended because all of this was from this morning's first round of storms. We saw some severe storms already, even a few tornado warnings out west, and that possibility later on this afternoon is definitely going to be back around when we see another round of severe weather. So if you think, oh, we never saw a severe thunderstorm watch, or we're not under that tornado watch yet, it's just because the severe storms are coming in waves today. So it might not be your turn. It doesn't mean that you're kind of getting out of it. I am going to step back for a moment because I updated this around 9 a.m. This was the tornado watch at that point, but this, not that, we'll get back here, is the current watch for the tornado watch. You can see it has expanded all the way east through the I-95 corridor, all the way Hampton Roads, our coastal locations in the Eastern Shore, and all the way up to Washington, D.C. There are a few active tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings as well. So before I get back to the briefing, I do kind of want to give you the lay of the land as to where we are right now. Now, it's going to take a moment to switch over because it's only going to allow us to look at one radar site at a time, but this gives us an idea. Oh, I clicked on the wrong radar. We need this one. But you can see the tornado warning right here near Middleburg. That is, of course, in Northern Virginia, and quite a few severe thunderstorm warnings over the case of the morning as well. So things are already rocking and rolling. And typically when we see severe storms, it's in the afternoon. We get the heating of the day. But when we're seeing severe weather as early as we are now, and we have for several hours, as I mentioned, we've already had tornado warnings. The atmosphere is just juiced up, and it's going to, especially if we happen to break any little bit of sunshine this afternoon, that is going to just create even more instability in the atmosphere and really further the intensity that we could be seeing with especially later this afternoon and evening storms. So the pink box that you see here, that is a tornado warning. So we have one, it just moved north of Martinsville, and it's heading into Pittsylvania County. And then the bigger red box around that is a severe thunderstorm warning. So things are already going out there. But getting back to the presentation, wind advisory is also in effect. So I want to preface this by saying this is outside of the severe weather threat. So it's just going to be a generally windy day overall for those shaded in tan. That also includes the northern and central Blue Ridge, along with Hampton Roads and our eastern shore locations, along with everyone else generally west of Prince Edward County and Campbell County, all the way back to the state line. But generally winds are out of the south, turning to the west after the cold front moves through, and we'll be seeing sustained winds today, 15 to 30 miles per hour for the wind advisory, but gusts could get up to 45. Now, of course, if we see a severe thunderstorm or a tornado, we'll be seeing gusts much, much higher than that. So now shifting to our severe weather potential. If you've been paying attention to the information that has been coming out over the weekend, there haven't been too many changes since about 24 hours ago here, at least for the areas of impact. So the red is the most serious threat. That is a moderate risk for a good part of the state. Really, the only area is west of 77 back in Southwest Virginia that is, I wouldn't say going to get out of severe weather, but they have the lowest threat. The red right through the heart of the Piedmont I-95 corridor from DC to the state line and even into most of our coastal locations. Long-lived and widespread, along with intense storms that could produce strong tornadoes. The last time that we had a moderate risk from the Storm Prediction Center was in 2023, and prior to that, it was 2019. Really, the only difference between today and what we were putting out yesterday is that the hail threat is a little bit lower than it was yesterday, but everything else, our wind threat, along with our damaging or strong tornado threat, is the same as it was yesterday. Not increased, but still the same as yesterday. So as I mentioned, things are kind of happening in rounds. We're seeing that round one kind of playing out right now. And then some of us will get a break, but others will not see too much of a break between the morning storm chances and then things reigniting this afternoon. So the line might be a little bit blurred between round one and round two for I-95 and areas east. But it's really that afternoon time frame that we're most concerned about for the strongest of storms. Now, we're already seeing severe weather, but if we're expecting to see the strongest storms this afternoon, know that it could be and very likely will be much worse. I know that this is a very broad time frame, but because we are talking about the entire state here, you can't really hone in specific hour by hour in terms of the storm chances. That's why it says from noon all the way to 11 p.m. That is when we could be seeing severe weather, but I will say noon to 11 p.m. is the whole window, but most of at least the strongest storms are going to happen in that band of red from roughly 4 p.m. to about 7 to 8 p.m. That's the window that we are most concerned about for the strongest storms. The threat of wind gusts is up to 45 to 60 miles an hour. Up to quarter-sized hail is possible. Again, that's down a little bit from yesterday. Tornado threat is still high. And we do have a minor threat for flash flooding, especially in northern Virginia, just due to the nature of some of these storms bringing potentially heavy downpours. Now, this just kind of breaks down, that was the overall severe weather threat. This takes each threat, the tornado threat, damaging winds, and the hail, and separates them out to see what the best chance for each is. So starting with tornadoes, I know there's a lot going on this map. The colors show the percentage chance. So that's why it equates to the red for the moderate risk. That's 15 to 29% of chance of a probability of a tornado within 25 miles of a point. So if you're looking specifically at, say, the city of Richmond, just for an example, there is a 15 to 29% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of the city of Richmond. And that goes for anywhere within that point. So that's just kind of how those probabilities work. Now, on top of that, the hatched area is a greater than 10% chance that we could be seeing a significant tornado, and that is anything from an EF2 up to EF5. Now, this is, for the entire United States, they say EF2 up to EF5, but here in Virginia, we're really looking at probably up to an EF2 tornado, at least with this situation. Hopefully, we don't see anything stronger than that, but we are looking at possibly up to an EF2 tornado. Damaging wind threat is higher. So even if we don't see a tornado, strong straight line winds from the thunderstorm could be just as much, if not more, damaging than a tornado. A lot of people just think, oh, it's not a tornado warning, but okay, well, severe thunderstorms can be very, very dangerous, if not more dangerous sometimes than tornadoes. These winds could get 70 to 75 miles an hour, and we could be seeing gusts up to hurricane strength gusts. And this could do a whole lot of damage too. And then, as I mentioned, hail is kind of lesser of the threat, but still we are looking at a 5 to 14% chance of severe criteria hail. Just briefly touching on that marginal heavy rainfall potential, it's generally north of Fredericksburg into Northern Virginia where we could be seeing some areas of localized flooding. Now, this is not riverine flooding. It's just due to quick, heavy downpours that have nowhere to go before it finally kind of finds the drainage areas or soaks into the grass and that kind of thing. Rainfall amounts anywhere from 1/4 up to an inch generally statewide. In Northern Virginia, it could be a little bit higher due to the flooding threat there, but that is what we're looking at. So a pretty decent widespread rainfall is what we're expecting. And if that weren't enough, because it is March, we need to toss in the fact that a few counties may be seeing some snow as well. The winter weather advisories are in effect specifically for Grayson County and then also far western Highland County. Because they're totally different times, I did delineate the different timing of those advisories if you are in those areas and care about the specifics there. But those are the counties under the advisories where they could be seeing a little bit higher snowfall amounts, up to 2 to 4 in Highland County and maybe up to 3 in Grayson. But a few others could be seeing some light snow all the way up to Northern Virginia and then generally along and west of the I-81 corridor. We're looking at generally less than 1 inch of snow. It's going to be really minimal impacts unless you're in that advisory where you could be seeing higher amounts. But just the fact that we're going from 60s today down to, the 20s and even teens tonight is kind of deja vu. Like, we just saw this. Luckily, we aren't looking at quite as much snow as some of us got the other day. Winds are sustained, as I mentioned, pretty much statewide, anywhere from 20 up to 30 miles per hour, and then gusts higher than that certainly going to be around, and then factor in some severe storms. And it's going to be a pretty windy day, even if you don't have a severe storm, but that will add insult to injury. And then one of the last things that I'll leave you with is this was a great question that was brought up yesterday, especially on a statewide level. A lot of folks are worried about, what's the soil saturation? Because if the ground is saturated and we see really strong winds, that could really make wind damage in terms of trees coming down a lot worse. And we've seen that in some tropical events. Luckily, our recent rain has not been enough to saturate our grounds. So at least the structural integrity of our root system for our trees is not going to be compromised. Now, they still very well will be susceptible to just normal severe weather wind damage, but they won't be enhanced by saturated soils, which could make things much worse. And again, pretty cold behind that cold front. Tonight will drop down to freezing and below, some of us in the teens tonight. And then Tuesday and Wednesday will be much cooler than normal with highs in the 40s. And then we get back on track closer to normal and then even warm for March standards into the 70s by March. But I'll stop pending questions. The last thing that I'm going to show you is the timing visually, because this is what I think really helps out a lot. And it looks like our 12Z stuff isn't in. We'll go back to the 0Z. And so here we are, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so this is definitely overblown because this is showing what it's going to be like in 45 minutes, and it's nowhere like that. So just keeping that in mind, timing wise. Throughout the early afternoon, 2 p.m., 3, 4, you can definitely see that most of us will see a break from the activity. 5, 6, 7, and then there's that last line that is likely going to be the strongest. 6, 7, 8, right along the I-95 corridor. And then pretty quickly diminishes as it moves off the coast. So that's that 4 p.m., 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the time frame that we're most concerned about with that last line that goes through. And then those are the snow showers back to the west, if you see these over here. So we have a little bit of everything, and pending questions. I know that was a lot, but thanks for your patience. I will pause for questions.